Hey guys, it's Cassandra at Beads to Live By. Oh man, it's been a day. I've been spending the day with the dogs, so haven't gotten a lot done because if you follow us at all on social media, you know we have a puppy. So it's like a matter of yeah, running around just trying to keep her out of trouble or keep her from hurting herself or any combination of the above. And then I just scrambling to figure out everything else. So, oh gosh, I didn't get a chance to edit any of my um, banners that we use here, but it's okay. I think I just finished picking out my beads. How are you guys doing tonight? We'll keep this simple here. I will try to give you guys a supply list sometime during the broadcast, but I will definitely, I will give it to you up front verbally, but I did not take the time to type it out in the banners, which is the little like bar of color and text you see across your screen ahead of time. So gonna have to figure this one out. And what we're working on tonight is this adorable little component. So we're specifically going to focus on making one of these components. Depending on how quickly it goes live, then we'll talk about at least the idea of connecting them to one another, if not actually doing so. And then in this sample, I used a double strand of silver silk capture chain, which I just loved the colors. Don't know if this is one that Nile has listed on his website right now, but is something that, oh, thanks, Savanda. I appreciate that. I've got some fun new colors to work with, so I don't really know if I will do this the same way I did the first time, only because I want to show the versatility of this component. But this, if you have not been following us, let's see here, does anything talk about, yeah, I don't see any place where I have. So if you are not familiar with Beads to Live By, we currently offer what we're calling our curated collections that are based around some subscriptions that we have started to carry. So we are currently offering 3 subscriptions that you can do monthly, up to 3. A set of vintage buttons, a set of 2-hole check glass beads, and a set of seed beads. And this particular project features the 2-hole check glass and the seed bead subscriptions, and it also includes a couple of what we call add-on bundles. So the fire polish that are connecting these and that are also part of the components are items that we curate and coordinate every month to go with the subscription colors. So these colors happen to be from January, and you know, the idea for me behind what we're offering in these subscriptions and the add-on bundles are some of the most commonly used items by our instructors and students. Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, this is anything I offer via video is, unless I say otherwise, intended to be for people who are either new to beading or at a beginner level. I attempt to not offer too many projects that would be things that would cause someone to feel challenged if they haven't been beading for a long time. I myself have been beading for about 20 years now, and either managing someone else's store or have owned my own store for 15 years. It really feels like a lot when I say it that way, but our store is celebrating our 10-year anniversary in less than 2 weeks. And I helped run somebody else's store prior to opening our own business, and have written patterns and taught for that long. So I say all that to just say that while I appreciate a really complicated and time-consuming project, I also really feel strongly about offering things that people can do if they are just getting into this. And I also like a project that doesn't take me a month to finish. So this is one of those projects, and I love making components and things. The 2-hole beads that we happen to use in this project, and this is a good time to go over the supply list in general, are Silky beads, which are these little squares that have 2 holes, and they sit on an angle. So the holes go through the corners and allow these beads to sit more like a diamond if they're strung straight. Then you will also see something called a tile bead that looks exactly the same as this, but the whole configuration is different. And then the beads, the center beads are hard to see here. They might look like a super duo to you, but they are actually a 2-hole lentil. So those are 2 of the 5 shapes that we offer in our curated collection subscription with the 2-hole beads. And of course, I didn't think to have one of my bundles out. I think I have one nearby. So if time allows and it makes sense, I'll grab that just so you guys can see all 5 of the strands. But the other beads I have in here are 2 different colors because we have 8 of them every month in the subscription. So there are 2 colors of size 11 seed beads. I've got this kind of pink mauve along the sides, and then the turquoise to pop in the center of the connections there. And then we've got 2 different sizes of fire polish. So the component itself only utilizes a 4mm fire polish, but the 3mm here on the side is one of the beads that is, it's actually the only bead that's added in order to create that connection. You could use another 4mm there. You could use a seed bead there. I just liked the way that the 3mm fit into that spot. So the colors that I'm using tonight are from some future subscriptions. So just spoiler alert, because if you fall in love with the colors I'm using tonight and you're not subscribing already, that would be an indicator that you would have lots of fun with the subscriptions from our curated collections. Oh, thank you, Avonda. Yes, I really, oh gosh, these etched tiles are just life. Like the colors that come across in those are fantastic. And I know I was talking about my dogs earlier. If you guys were not with us yet, I've been hanging out with my little puppy and our rescue dog, Walter, today. And if you hear some yipping or I have to walk away from the camera for just a minute, it will be because I am trying to deal with the puppy and getting her settled. So I'm actually going to say that, getting the puppy, and then be right back with my one of my banners. There. All right. That way, just in case. But now that we've gone over all the beads, I'm really hoping I get a chance to give you guys that list via a written format. Something I'm using right now, and I love to point out, is these are a thread cutter. It's the technical term for them, and they are one of my favorite products. I tend to cut my line that my beads are strung on. Not really, ideal, but it just happens. You should separate what you use for your thread versus your wire versus your stringing material versus your cutting your beads apart the way I just did, but do as I say, not as I do. I think that's the way the saying goes. And those thread cutters are something that I'm waiting for them to come back in stock with my vendor, but we absolutely cannot recommend them enough if you are new to beading, or if you sometimes struggle with getting a nice clean cut on your thread. They are just the best. So that's my plug for, I don't even have them in stock right now, so it's not like I'm really trying to sell you on anything. So how many of you plan out your vacation jewelry? I am getting ready, and it is technically a work trip, but it's like half work, half vacation, going on the upcoming bead cruise. And if you have never heard of such a thing, all you have to do is go to bead cruise. I think it's just beadcruise.com, but there's also a Facebook group you can check out where we share lots of information and updates about what's going on with the cruise. And you would absolutely adore this trip if you are fortunate enough to take vacations that are centered around your hobbies, or if you happen to work in the industry and it makes sense for you to do it because of that. Whatever your reasons, it's just phenomenal. Oh, hi, Rachel. I'm assuming it's Rachel that is one of our subscribers, because I am honored to say I have a customer in Australia who puts up with all of the craziness of the time difference and the shipping. And I think that, that just deserves a little extra credit when it comes to uh, the effort put into ordering things. So thank you for that. But it's so nice to see you out here and in YouTube land. So here's a little sneak peek at the colors that I'm working with. We'll see how I feel about these. I have changed my route multiple times here. So, but for any of you that are just joining, we are working on, I just flashed the components. Oop, there we go. Components that we are working on. So I'm pulling about a wingspan of thread. So that is roughly 5 feet, give or take, depending on your stature. But people's arm lengths are a lot more similar from one to the next than what I think most people assume. So gosh, that was like a tangent. I am using 10-pound wildfire for anyone. Oh, we have it listed on the website. My container is all like mucked up but we carry only the 10-pound size. So if you order wildfire from us, that is the only size we carry. There is a heavier size that they make, and it's just not something that we end up using enough. So we only carry the 10-pound, but and I've got either a size 11 or size 12 needle here. Those are the only 2 sizes I use, unless it's something other than seed bead weaving. So sorry, I get really dry. Well, I'm talking so much by myself because I have nobody else to fill the dead air. So, so in this project, again, this sample is a little hard to see, but with those lentil beads, they're a saucer shape and they've got 2 holes. Maybe you'll be able to see a little bit on this individual one here. These colors are so pretty. Over the next couple of months, we've got some like gorgeous rainbowy finishes and very like springy and summery colors to get you guys ready for those seasons. So, but we are using the first or one of the 2 holes for 8 of those lentils, and that's the beginning of so about 5 feet of thread. You probably have a lot extra, and 8 lentils to start your component. And I'll string them on camera. I kind of hate threading my beads while I'm on camera. I'm sure you guys will see why, because I fumble more, I think, when I'm doing that. But it's changed a lot. I was watching a very old video because it was a project that I really wanted to share again in some different colors, or like a slightly variated, oops, I almost threw all my beads off, slightly variated example of that project. And it's just funny, after doing this for a couple of years, how I've, managed to get my lighting to be a little bit better. I have started using, like programs that allow me to put some text up for you guys and do the side-by-side screen with the face and the bead view. And there were some very dark days back in 2020 when we first started doing a lot more videos. that looked very archaic. So this is what the lentils look like when you've just gone through one hole and they're all lined up sort of kind of, but they'll wobble around a lot because that either of the holes on a lentil are very off center. So you have to get through that second hole to get anything to, sit neatly. But I pulled this down. I'm going to leave like 4 inches of thread. So this is the tail. This is the furthest point away from my needle. And then I'm going to cross that over my other side of my thread. So there's the crisscross. And then I bring the tail through that loop. And what happens is you're tying a knot. So you're bringing those beads into a circle, and then you're going to do the same process again, cross your tail thread over your longer piece of thread and bring the tail through the loop, and then just close up that hole very slow and methodically, because that way your thread won't wrap around your other beads in a way that's not pleasing to you. And these beads are super crystally, so it might be kind of challenging to see what we're doing, but you're going to go through maybe just a couple of holes. And again, this is the interior holes, the inside of that circle. And then once we get through there, I'm going to pop out of an exterior hole. I just have to look up and make sure. It's easier for me to see what I'm doing as I work if I look down, but then I want to make sure you guys are seeing the important parts as I look up. Okay, so Avonda, I appreciate that feedback about the banner. I don't know. So it's got my little, are those two different from one another? Okay, so without that, there's a little bit more space, and I'll push this up here and I'll work more into the center there. So I've got coming out of that interior hole and going through the exterior hole the opposite direction from where I started. I hope everyone takes a cue from Avonda. That type of feedback is so helpful when we're live and by ourselves and are staring at our own cameras one at a time. Yes, thank you for that. So that kind of, what do they call that? Constructive criticism is very much appreciated. So I am going to start by, I'm not going to pay attention to which side of the finish I'm going to be attaching with my silky bead. But do you see how when you flip it over, there's like colors on each side? That's not the case with all of them, but happens to be the case with these. And some people would go through and try to place that color very intentionally. I am not doing that. So I'm going to go through one corner of my silky, and you can see how those holes sit on the corners instead of straight down the bead. And I'm going to go from the lentil that I'm coming out of currently with my thread into the hole of the very next lentil. And I'm going to pull this through off camera because it's really hard for me to do that on camera and not create a knot like I just did. And so then once I have that bead pulled taut, so when I say taut, I don't want it to be like tight to the point of things being contorted, but I don't want any thread to be loose or showing. So that's what I mean by taut. And so that's just one step. We're going to continue with the one of our colors of seed beads. You can choose whichever one you want to pick up. And it's going to be a size 11. And we're going to go from the lentil we just went through that we're coming out of right now and go to the next one. You're going to repeat that step, I believe, 2 more times for a total of 3 of your, nope. Let's see, 2 11s. You're going to have 3 lentils and 2 11s. That's why I double check myself. what ends up happening is that there will be one lentil centered at the start and finish of this component at either end, and then 3 on each side, and those will flank your silky beads and the seed beads. So far, I'm loving this color combination. I might just have to change out my 4mm. So now after 2 11 seed beads, those ones pop, thank goodness. I'm adding another silky in this next space here. Little stuttery there. So there is that. And then you are actually going to add another silky in this very next spot. And you could sort of add them in any order as long as they all landed in the right places, if that makes sense, because you're not starting at, one particular point in the component. There we go. Now I've got one of the colors flipped so you can see the other side of the silky. And then, so this is like one end and then the other end, and then the sides, I'm on a side right now. So I'm adding 2 more 11s, but when I say 2 11s, it's only 1 bead in each spot. So 1, 2. See, this is what I get for pulling my thread through on camera. Ugh, knots. Now, we do carry and sometimes use a synthetic beeswax or a microcrystalline wax, which can help with your knotting, but I just don't always think to use it. I don't always like to use it. Sometimes the buildup is a little challenging. Gosh, there are all sorts of cool colors on the side. Okay. So I think it's fun trying to find a hole on these sometimes. Oh gosh, I'm going the wrong way there. Flipped it over. Thinking like top and bottom, I've got ideas. So when you get all the way around, you're trying to get the camera to refocus here. It's not wanting to focus on that component. There we go. Once you get around the component, the last thing you're going to add in the order that we were working in is 1 more silky bead. So you need a total of 4 silky beads and 4 size 11 seed beads. So I've got a silky bead on my needle and just going through that last lentil, or it's the first lentil we started with, but I'm really struggling to figure out why. We'll try. I don't know if I've got a way to really get it to focus any better than that. I think part of the problem is I keep pulling my hands out from underneath the camera in order to get this to work properly. So, okay, we are at the next point in the process. So super glassy beads, crystally colors, a little harder to see what's happening, especially since the camera just like refuses to focus. I think that might be part of why I was holding the component down further, is that seems to be a little bit more in focus, but we are not going to do that if we can't see under the banner. So the next thing we're going to do is go through the silky bead. So that's the bead that's already in place, that's directly after the lentil we were exiting. And then once we go through that, then we need to go through, let's see here. I want to be coming out of, I think I'm going to turn and go through that silky. So we're coming out of the silky, going one direction of the like interior hole that we've used already. And we're going to turn and go backwards. So we'll flip from like clockwise to counterclockwise or vice versa at this point and go through that outer hole. So then your thread is exiting the exterior hole here of that silky. And I I really am not super happy with my 4mm I grabbed. So if you guys have a minute to let me paw through, try to find another color that is more pleasing. That's kind of my goal here. I just think that the color I grabbed is a little too yellowy. I thought it was a little more topaz-y. Keeping an eye on the comments there. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts, you're welcome to share with the class. Gosh, you would think with all the colors I have at my disposal / in front of me that I'd be able to find something that works for what I'm looking for. I also don't want to jinx myself, but I can't believe the dogs have kept themselves occupied / been napping for this long. A miracle. All right, I have some pearls that color-wise just kind of blend in, but I don't know. Looks really pretty with some of the other beads I picked out. All right, we're gonna wing it. Try that out. I don't know if I have the size pearl listed on the website. Again, I'm working with a 4mm bead right now, or that's part of what I'm getting ready to do. So if you go to look for beads for this project to go with other things you have, etc., or the bundles to pair with the subscriptions, we include fire polish right now. We don't do a pearl, but we're gonna grab, coming out of that Silky, just to refresh you guys on where we're at, the second color of 11s. So this is your like accent color. Slightly less dominant than, well, yeah, it's less dominant than your main color. You're gonna have 111, 1 4mm, and 111. And you're gonna go through the next Silky at the end there. Just jump from one hole to the next. Yeah, these colors I think I'm gonna be happier with than I initially was concerned about. Yay, okay. So now we are going to add 4 size 11s in that side color. So the first color you used, you call it color A, whatever's easiest to remember. We've got 4 of those on our needle. And you're going to come down to, coming out of the Silky, you're going to go through the 11 that is closest to your current position. And you can go through more beads than this, but I think in order to, yeah, you'll end up going through the lentil and the next 11. So I don't know if it's ideal to go through all 3 of those at once. I think it's going to be harder for you. I happen to be able to wiggle my needle through there, so that's what we'll go with. But if you can't go through all of them at the same time, you're not doing anything wrong. So, oh, these colors are going to be so fun. I'm really glad I kept messing with it. So now we're coming out of that second 11 on that side. And pull my, gosh, is it just me or did I feel like my camera was really focusing better at some point on my project? Just really want you guys to be able to see the thread path. Seems like it just wants to focus on my hands and not the project, but I think this is as close as we're going to get. I'm going to pull on that thread just so you can see the exact location of it. So I've got 4 more of the 11s on my needle, and this is the first color. I'm going to go through this next Silky that's closest to, so unless I tell you to change directions, like to go from clockwise to counterclockwise, you're otherwise going to be moving in the same direction all the way around your work. So exiting that, Silky, you're going to add the second color, color B11, and then a 4mm, and then another similar colored 11, and go through the next Silky. And then we're going to repeat that process that we just did along the one side, along the opposite side. So this is going to give you a bunch of that color all at once in your first color of 11s that you added. So this is kind of like, you're definitely going to see more of this color than your second color that you work with. But depending on what you end up doing with the components, like you could really kind of change it up and work in more of some of the beads. There's really an endless amount of possibilities of what you could do with these components. So, and it's hard to tell on camera in this lighting, but I am using this gorgeous periwinkle colored 11 because it very much is emulated in some of the other colors in the subscription. So your last move in this round is going to be to come out of that second 11 on the side that is already woven into your work and add 4 more, and then you're going to go through the outermost hole of this Silky here. And when we pull that through, gosh, I don't know if it's just like the lighting in here that has changed a little bit or what, but I'm going to see if I can get any more focus on this here. That is what it almost looks like when it's done. We've got one more round to do. So here is where I would choose to go ahead and attach my, wonder if I can actually do, oh, let's see if I can do, there we go. If this will be any bigger or any easier to see. So I'm just going to show you the component by itself, because when you are at the end and working around the last time, this is like a spot where it's easier to attach one to the next. So those 4mm that are on the end are the ones that are going to be utilized to go through and then work off of. So with your 3mm and those 4mm, that's where I gotta grab. You would take a 3mm bead, and then you've got to pretend like this 4mm bead is part of another component. So like it would be attached to something else, and then a 3mm bead. And once you've got those on your needle, then you're going to go from the end, not that your thread is coming out of in the component you started with, but the end that is sort of open right now with no thread. So you're making a loop. This is called right angle weave. A lot of the times when I'm working with 2-hole beads, I'm working in some kind of modified right angle weave, but this is like a technical actual right angle weave. So that's that 4mm there, the one that's out by itself, is actually meant to be part of your next component. So you see that like little connection point. Gosh, there's like just something going on with the light. I don't know. I'm trying so hard to get it to focus close enough for to the camera, but this is what we just did, this portion here. And those turquoise 11s really make it pop. So the colors I'm using in this happen to be more blendy. But from here, we're going to go through the next 11 and Silky or whatever you can get your needle through. Oh my gosh, you guys, tell me what you're having for dinner. I cooked up some stuff for tacos, but haven't finished it up yet. And like the whole house smells like ground turkey and sauteed peppers right now. My stomach is growling. So we're coming out of that Silky, going through those size 11 seed beads. And then you are going to exit those first 4 size 11 seed beads. So don't go through any more beads, because at that point, if you add 3 more of that color and go through the next 4 that are on the outside of your component. So I've got 3 on my needle, and I'm going to go through these 4 out here. Maybe. I wanted to do it all at once, but there we go. And then when you do that, you're just going to have a nice, like, more flat and tailored looking edge. So you see on this side, we haven't done that yet, where my needle is at, and it dips in a lot. But on the side that I just completed, you've got a little bit more of a finished look. You don't have to add that step. It does not do anything to like enhance the integrity of the project. It's just a like visual thing for me. So I'm going to go back to the 2 screen. There we go. So that we aren't just talking into thin air here. Now, in order to get to where I want to go, this is just like we're working our thread path through a space. And I just feel like there's something strange about my lighting right now that is, oh, there goes bead somewhere. Don't know what happened that things got so like out of focus, but I feel like there's a little bit more light every time I move things around. It's also gotten very dark outside, so that doesn't help things, but this might end up being an earring. I'm tempted to add a different kind of space on the edge I'm on right now, like a loop of seed beads, just so that I've got we're gonna do it. I'm just gonna like preemptively plan out a pair of earrings here. Oh, I started to talk earlier about, do you guys plan out, so the bead cruise was what I got off on a tangent about, but I was pulling out my summery clothes because in Michigan, the weather here in February does not at all overlap with the weather that we will encounter on any of the tropical locations we've visited on the bead cruise before. So it's a matter of like really needing to kind of plan that out in advance. And because I pulled out like my outfits to try to figure out what I was going to take, now I'm like, ooh, do I have jewelry to go with that? So that's where I'm at with life right now. Is any of the samples I'm working on are like, okay, does it configure with that wardrobe specifically for, we've just got a little over 2 weeks, so it's on the brain. And I'm not a terribly like grumpy person in the winter when it comes to like, I don't love super hot, humid weather, so I don't mind like the colder months, but it does kind of wear on you after a while. And I definitely would never complain about, and am also excited about going and getting to experience the Mexican Riviera. So that is not at all going to be something I'll pretend that I don't want to do. But yeah, I know there's people who have, like actual medical, emotional situations where the kind of weather we experience throughout the winter is not ideal for them. But that is the component, guys. And I did a couple of things on the ends here. I'll probably play around with some earrings. I'm gonna kind of see where this takes me. I need to find a little drop or something that I like for one end of it. But this little loop of seed beads on the other end is going to ideally be for the ear wire. And conversely, that would be the same thing I would do if I was connecting a clasp or another type of medium for the rest of whatever I was making with it. So in the bracelet, there are 3 components, which means you have 2 connections between components, and then you have ends to connect to other materials, and then this is inside out, yep. And then I did the double strand. If you, this item is not on my website, but I do have some in stock, and our good friend Neely at Silver Silk, who manufactures them, also has, I'm sure, plenty of them available in stock, but it's a double strand end for the capture chain. And then I used 2 very short sections of capture chain. So something else I love about doing things like this is if you have pieces and parts left over from other, products you've made, don't throw those away. This is like, I bet 2.5, 3 inches tops with the part that's inside the end caps. And that was all that I needed with only 3 of these beaded components to make a bracelet. And then of course we love our friends at TierCast and their gorgeous toggles and things. So that just adds something to the piece. But I hope that when you are watching and rewatching the replay, that being able to pause and restart the directions makes it easy for you to make your own beautiful components. And right now we have only a few of these types of things listed, like the 2-hole lentils. We have 1 color on the website. The silky beads, there are more plentiful, but they're not all in the curated collections. So as we get the subscriptions out each month, we'll list those colors, or at least what's still available of those colors, and you'll have more opportunities. But we have lots of seed beads, including the curated collections. We've been doing that for over 6 months now. Woohoo! And 4mm and 3mm fire polish up the wazoo on the website. So there's lots of these materials. The 10-pound wildfire and needles are listed as well. If you don't have access to them in your local bead store, we're happy to fill in so that you have access to lots of beautiful materials. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I look forward to sharing more projects with you using these awesome sets of beads that we have just started this month to release. So take care and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, guys.